1% of dudes rapping, they ain't nice as me. 98% ain't live the same type of life as me. The judge gave me life and then they sent me where the life is be. That level 4 with depth and vice, the type of stuff they like to see. Two choices, fight or flee. I refuse to die a chump. I never been a mark, but damn, it's scary when that riot jump. I seen dudes cry, get pumped, and some sexually brutalized. Knew a dude who lost his life and he was only doing 5 year-long racial fights when homie all you do is ride. Lonely days and nights up in a hole causing suicide. From the moment you arrive, you see the Mexican mafia, AB skinheads with big giant swastikas, pro-black philosophers, the BGF, the Kumi, and Muslims who will murk you from the nation to the Sunni. That MS was loony, quick to ride up on they rival. Even Christians went to church, hide knives up in a Bible. Political and tribal, the Crips and Damus, the Long Beach, the Hubs and the Dubs and the Grooves, the IE, the Bakersfield, the Dago Pyrus, the hustlers quick to roll, the gangsters don't move. Whatever click you choose, you better
Say what's cracking, YouTube? It's your boy 16 to life, and I'm back like I'm on a pro violation. Yard down. Now, for those of y'all that's new to my page, in 1994, I got arrested. I was eventually sentenced to 16 years plus life, and I served 24 years straight in the California prison system. Yeah, that's me gassing right there on that intro. And if you want to get that song, hit me up on my email, 16tolifemusic@gmail.com, and I'm going to give you the information on how to get it, man. And so in this video, I'm going to be reacting to a very sad and tragic situation where in Moreno Valley, a young child lost their life due to gang violence. So let's get into it.
Welcome back to another episode of Warren Cali. In this episode, I'm going to detail a tragedy that happened in Moreno Valley. The Inland Empire, also known as the IE, is a region in Southern California that many people group up with LA, with the regions not being too far away. But the IE is a lot different and have many different gangs, and their politics is a lot different out there. The IE has a lot of gangs in that county that make up the Inland Empire, but in the Moreno Valley, there's a lot of gang activity going on with many sets, like Sex Cash Murder, Wild Flax Crip, Edgemont Criminals, and the Dorner Block Crips, and a few other gangs in the area. With these gangs playing a part in the city's crime and the violence, a lot of death will come forth. And that's exactly what happened in September of 2013. On September 7th, 2013.
Now, I remember this case, right? I remember being locked up, and of course, in prison, I function with and hang with a lot of individuals from a lot of these areas that are located inside the Inland Empire, the IE. And so this definitely was an extremely talked about, unfortunate topic in around that period of course, in prison.
September 7th, 2013, in the city of Moreno Valley, it was a family party going on at a house. A few people were in the driveway at a home, and some people being in the garage. Moreno Ricks and his 6-year-old daughter Tiana arrived to the event and got out their car. As they got out the car, a man came out of nowhere and yelled and fired at the crowd of people. Unfortunately, both Terrell and Tiana would be the ones shot. Terrell would survive with only being shot in the leg, but Tiana, she was fatally shot. It was said Tiana's last words were, "Are you okay, Dad?"
Her killers, the family of a 6-year-old Southland girl tries to cope with her loss. She and her father were shot at a party in the 25,000 block of Harker Lane in Moreno Valley last night. KCAL9's Christy Fajardo has been speaking to the child's relatives. She joins us live now from Moreno Valley. Christy?
Juan, the little girl and her father had come to this house for a college send-off party. As of this evening, her father was still in the hospital, listed in stable condition, and his family says he's struggling to understand. He lost his daughter, died at the hospital. The family says she had just started the 2nd grade, wanted to be a ballerina, loved vegetables and reading, and was over the moon about being an older sister. Her father, who lives in Indiana, recently lost his significant other in a car accident. He had brought their 1.5-year-old daughter to meet Tiana.
And she was so proud. She had a little sister. She walked around here all day yesterday with that baby on her head. And she was a big sister.
September 9th, a vigil was held for Tiana's honor. Tiana's death would reach people like the rapper The Game and also Snoop Dogg, who both gave money for the funeral.
Shout out to Snoop Dogg and shout out to Game, for reaching out when they did, helping this family and just showing their support. So big shout out to those two dudes.
suspects in the shooting death of 6-year-old Tiana Ricks in Moreno Valley this past Saturday. The 6-year-old was shot as her father, Terrell Ricks Jr., tried to carry her away from the gunman who showed up outside the Moreno Valley house they were visiting. Ricks Jr. was injured by a gunshot wound to the leg. Earlier today, we spoke to a witness to the shooting who asked not to be identified.
A few of us were in the garage, in the front of the garage where the driveway is, and two guys walked up to us and just started shooting.
They didn't say anything?
They said something, but I didn't hear what they said. They just, before, when the one first guy started talking, the other guy just started shooting while he was talking. So
and who was he talking to?
Just yelling out. He just yelled out some words. And
was there a lot of people in the front? Or?
There was a few of us, yeah, actually. There were maybe only 4 or 5 of us in the driveway. The little girl was with us right there in the front of the driveway because her and her dad had just arrived. And there were maybe 5 or 6 more people inside the garage.
And do you remember how many gunshots possibly?
First it was about 4 or 5. And then it continued after we all ran inside the house.
Police are asking anyone who has information on the shooting to contact the Moreno Valley Police Department at 951-486-67.
The game attended the funeral and gave a statement after. He would say, "I'm in pieces over this. Being a father of a baby girl myself, there was no way on this earth a child should ever have to lay inside of a coffin. Things like this make people lose all hope, but I'm hoping God will take the wheel of this immediately. I hate when things end up like this. Rest in paradise. May your life amongst God be 1,000,000 times better than what earth dealt. My love is with you on your journey into the promised land. Justice for Tiana." Eventually, the shooter would get arrested. It was a man named Keandre. He was a Donor Black Crip who thought the party was for his rivals.
10-year-old Keandre Johnson of Moreno Valley made his first appearance in court on Wednesday afternoon. He was arrested on Monday for fatally shooting 6-year-old Tiana Ricks and also wounding her father, Terrell Ricks. That was in a shooting that occurred in Moreno Valley last week.
Keandre was picked up after a man named DL snitched on him. DL cooperated with the police, agreeing to call Keandre and had the phone call recorded while he asked him questions about the shooting. During this conversation, Keandre insisted that he didn't see the little girl, and if he had, that he wouldn't have did the shooting. This was enough to get Keandre later charged. In 2018, Keandre was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. Tiana lost her life only at the age of 6 years old to senseless violence. R.I.P. to her. This will conclude this episode. If you haven't already, make sure you check out my previous episodes. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Now that definitely was a sad situation, right? And I know you're gonna have some people out there who may be wondering what role, if any, did her father play, and so on and so forth. And so we're not just to put any blame on him or whatever. This shooting, this unfortunate, very sad, tragic situation is 100% the result of the individual Johnson, Keandre Johnson, who was eventually convicted of this crime and sentenced to life without parole. He ended up taking a plea deal for life without parole, so that the prosecutor would drop the death penalty. Right now, after doing some research, he is currently in Corcoran. I 100% believe that he is on a SNY yard or a 50-50 yard because in 2022, he filed an appeal and he named the warden, which is this is typical, procedure. He named the warden of Mule Creek as a respondent to the appeal. And so Mule Creek was a full-fledged SNY yard in 2005. And so he was there in 2022, which lets me know without a question of a doubt, he ended up going SNY, right? I think that he went SNY more than likely because he feared from his safety. Now, y'all know I still got some connections to the streets, and I will say that allegedly the family of the young girl some of them were gang members, right? Not to say or imply that they had anything to do with him going SNY, but possibly him knowing that. And people know people, and possibly he may have been worried about his safety once he got to prison. The family of some of the family of that young lady are connected to some relatively big gangs in Los Angeles, and that's how far I'll go. And once again, I'll reiterate, not to say that they had anything to do making threats or anything like that, but just by him maybe knowing that, it's very well possible he feared for his safety. And I'm gonna just keep it 100, right? He should have feared for his safety. I believe that, because gangs are going to do what they're going to do. But I definitely believe that when something like this happens, the perpetrator of the crime, when he gets to prison, he definitely should be handled in a very extreme and vicious manner. If you are going to recklessly just shoot and take the life of a young child who has no involvement in any of this madness, then of course you definitely should pay the cost, right? And I definitely believe that that's something that the Crips and the Bloods need to come together and start doing in prison. When these individuals have these crimes where they're just shooting up parties and killing innocent kids, they definitely should have to pay for that, right? And so this guy ended up going, like I said, SNY at least by 2022. Now, ultimately, his appeal was denied because he had exceeded the 60-day time limit of when you're first found guilty. You have 60 days to file an appeal, and he did not do that, right? He was trying to withdraw his plea for a number of reasons. Now, he was trying to withdraw his plea because I guess when he finally got sentenced and got I forget the exact name of it. It's like the time document or something. I forget the exact name of it, but basically when he got the minutes, the minutes, and he seen what he was sentenced to, he claimed that some of the lower charges, because he had a bevy of charges, right? He claimed that some of the lower charges is what was something he didn't agree to, but that really didn't matter because the controlling sentence was life without parole, and that was right. So right later on, he ended up dropping all that type of stuff, right? And so now he sits. He's currently in Corcoran. And so that's why I believe that he is on an SNY yard, if not a 50-50 yard right now. So I don't get too confusing for you guys. I'm going to run something down, but I'm going to just keep it pretty simple, right? So some people may wonder, due to the fact that he has life without parole and he pled guilty to that and took a deal for that, does he have any chance of getting out? And I would say it's a very, very small chance. Very small chance, but it's a very small chance, and here's why, right? Around, I want to say 2000, maybe was it 17 or 18, there was a law that came out, and it was called SB 260. And what that law said is that California recognized a study done by some scientists or whoever these individuals were, that the brain is not fully mature until the age of 25. Parts of the brain that are responsible for appreciating the true effects of what an individual is truly doing, and also the impulse control part of the brain, is fully not developed until the age of 25. Now, initially, SB 260, it only extended this study to incorporate or evolve or apply to those who were under the age of 18. Then eventually you had two more bills get introduced and passed that extended it to 23, and then it extended it to the age of 25. That law was very helpful in getting myself out, along with other individuals who were sentenced to life with the possibility of parole. Unlike this individual who was sentenced to what is known as an LWOP, which is life without the possibility of parole. So then, of course, you had individuals who had caught their crime, because like I said, eventually this was extended to the age of 25, meaning that if you was sentenced to a crime in the state of California and the sentence or the laws carried a life sentence, you now were eligible for what is known as a youth offender parole hearing, right? And so then at some point you had individuals who were sentenced to LWOP, which is life without the possibility of parole. They started to argue and make an argument, which I feel honestly is a fair argument, saying that, hey, if this study says that the brain is fully not developed until the age of 25, why then does it not apply to me simply because the crime I committed carried life without parole? If my brain is if my brain is not fully developed, and this study proves that that played a part in why I did what I did, or at least it played a part in preventing me from doing what I did, why does this not apply to me? Which is a fair argument, right? So in 2024, there was a ruling. I believe it was People versus Hardin, and it excluded basically. It said that excluding individuals who were 18 to 25 and who had LWOP, it didn't violate the equal protection, right? And so it said that if it was up to the legislator, if California chose not to do that, it didn't violate the equal protection rights. And so then at some point in time, there was a law that was proposed, and I believe it is passed the Senate, if I'm not mistaken, right? SB 672. And basically it's a law asking that that ruling apply to individuals, prisoners who have life without parole and caught their crimes under the age of 25. So basically they want to be included and be allowed to have a youth offender parole hearing, and trying to say that their minds wouldn't fully develop too. But of course the youth offender parole hearing, you also have to stay out of trouble. There's a bunch of other things that come along with it. Just simply being under the age of 25 and committing a crime that had life or life without does not allow you to get out. You have to take a lot of programs. You have to stay disciplinary free for a long time. It's a lot of provisions. But one of the provisions that apply to this law, which I think will make it extremely hard in the event this law even passes, because right now it has not passed. And due to the fact that Johnson, who pled guilty to taking the life of this young 6-year-old, even though he pled guilty, does not necessarily exclude him from having a youth offender parole hearing. But in this new law that has been proposed, SB 672, it has several provisions that make individuals eligible. And one of the provisions is you cannot intentionally take the life of someone under the age of 12 years old. Well, when his homeboy called him on that phone call, setting him up, which was extremely helpful in him being convicted, his homeboy basically during the phone call asked him, "Why did you do that?" And he said, "I didn't see the young girl. And so if I had saw the young girl there, I wouldn't have shot." So, of course, any lawyer is going to argue that it clearly showed that the young girl was not his target. And so, therefore, you cannot hold him to the standard of intentionally taking the life of someone 12 years old or younger. But I believe that he will be he'll have an uphill battle, because California follows a law that's known as the transferred intent law. And basically, in a nutshell, it is this: if you attempt to shoot someone, let's say you attempt to shoot someone that's 35 years old, you miss and you hit and you take the life of someone under 12, it's then going to transfer that in your intent of trying to shoot the 35-year-old over to the 12-year-old person. So basically it's saying that in a nutshell, they don't care. If you intend to kill somebody over the age of 12 and you accidentally kill somebody under the age of 12, it's the same thing. And so I believe that law is definitely going to hold him up. And so just in my opinion, of course, I'm no lawyer, judge, none of that old type of stuff. I don't think he'll ever get out of prison. I think he has a very, very small percent, maybe 2 or 3% chance, but I don't think that he will ever be eligible to get out of prison due to those provisions and due to him having life without parole, so on and so forth. Right. So, that's just my, my breakdown in that situation right there. Once again, though, rest in peace to that young 6-year-old, Tiana Ricks. My condolences go out to her family. Once again, shout out to Snoop and Game. I think that was real stand up of those individuals, to contribute in the capacity that they did and help the family. And it said Game even showed up he even showed up at the funeral, right? So I thought that was extremely big and stand up, right? And so, anyway, this is just a sad situation, man. I feel like I said once again, the individuals who function with the black collective in prison, they should come together and they should stop allowing individuals who have harmed children to walk the line. These dudes should be, should not be permitted. It should not be seen cool. I mean, if you want to gang bang, that's up to you. If you get caught, you're going to have to pay for your decisions. But in the event you hurt the innocent, anybody innocent, even not even a child, because at the end of the day, it's our own people that we're hurting. So even if it's, it doesn't necessarily even have to be a child. If you're scared to get out on foot and get your man, and you just recklessly, shoot into the apartments or whatever, and you harm people who do not have ties to the beef that you was involved in, there should be consequences. Anyway, y'all already know what it is. It's your boy 16 to life. Resume normal program.